Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where after a lot of messing around here, it took probably between an hour and 2 hours, I didn't time it, but we managed to get everything back upright with the robot arm, although we can see here, these legs are causing, the legs combined with the robot arms are causing some awkward bouncing issues, and this guy really wants to tip over. It's potentially a problem for when we're landing. I think when we're landing, we're just going to have to make sure that this fuel is moved down here to lower our center of gravity. We're not going to be having a situation like this in the future, because this is going to be landing virtually empty, and then the arm can hold it up once it does get here. Now this guy, you'll notice it's just sitting here on this engine, and it's just fine. I tried to do that on this, and it doesn't like it. So that's not really an option over here. Although now that it's hooked up to the arm, it might be, now that I think about it. We can see. We would need to be here. And I'm going to start retracting the legs on this side. And we'll see if it does better just sitting on the engine there. The engine's trying to gimbal around. What if we turn Smart ASS off at this point? That's pretty stable, actually. So at that point, it's fine. But I think what I'd do is I'd turn the engine gimbal off for now, and we'd just do this. Okay, that seems good. But we are ready to head home here at this point. Did we grab our EVA report and surface sample? I think that we didn't. We were intending to do that. We'll grab our EVA report, we'll grab our surface sample, we'll hop in. Now, these solar panels are not perfectly positioned. They don't need to be, but I'm going to change them before we go and hope that this doesn't cause us to tip on over. That would be slightly awkward. Okay, are those mounted in about the same point? Yeah, they are. Okay, beautiful. So that's looking good, although I don't actually like where they are in relation to the ladders here. So I think I'm going to grab them and move them to be, what, here? No, one more over. Here. Right under that rung. There, that's much better. So we're going to hop in. These guys are ready to go home now. So I say that we just head on home. We should have the thrust to weight to do this, 1.96. Yeah, it's not going to be great, but it should be absolutely fine. Now, we're not planning on bringing all of this home. We have 5713 meters per second. Let's go. We're ready to leave this be. So we're going to throttle our engines right on up and very slowly lift off here. Yeah, the nuclear engine doesn't have a lot of pep to it. There's no doubt about that. But we're just going to make our way on up here, and I think we're just going to go up until our apoapsis height is somewhere around... maybe somewhere around 5 to 7 kilometers. Something like that. So we're at 4 kilometers right now, but we're getting exponential increases here, right? So we're just speeding on up, and we are out of here. That's 4.5 kilometers. Now, if we had a little bit more thrust to weight, I would be definitely heading over horizontally by now. But I just want to clear enough of these, like, ridges and such. Okay, that's 6 kilometers there. Let's head on down this direction. On that sweet, sweet 90-degree heading. Ooh, we're going back to up. Let's go to Kilrot. Thank you very much. Okay, I just want to head over to the horizon at this point. We just want horizontal speed. So horizontal velocity up would be absolutely fine here. Beautiful. So we need quite a bit of horizontal speed, right? There's no doubt about that. We're going to go into orbital mode here and keep an eye on our orbital velocity. And these guys just need to head home, back to Kerbin. They should be completely okay to make it on this tank, I think. 5,500 meters per second should do the trick, right? From taking off on Ike to landing on Kerbin, that should be okay. All things considered. I suppose we could make a stop by the Duna station and replenish our fuel. We don't have a docking port on here, so we'd have to like move a docking port on, and it would be a whole thing. I don't think that we're going to do that at this time. I can see that our time to apoapsis is currently decreasing, so we're going to need some additional altitude here, and I'm going to get us some. We want that time to apoapsis to still be increasing at this point, but we're still putting more into our horizontal than into our vertical. So I think we're going to hang out about here until an apoapsis height of maybe even 10 kilometers. But we're now about 10 kilometers away from our launch site, and all is looking great. A little low on the thrust to weight, but we're not surprised about that one. We're up to 2 now. And about to hit 10 kilometers. Let's head on over to horizontal velocity up now. And we'll see what's going on with that time to apoapsis. It's going slightly down. Very slightly down. Okay. I want to correct our heading a little bit here, so I'm just going to hang out here for a moment. In fact, we're just hanging out like over here. We don't need to do this technically, and we can see now that our time to apoapsis is going back up. So that is looking absolutely fine. Still at a 91 degree heading. Okay, a little bit of correction here is okay. We'll try this again, and let's see what that's doing. Are we gimbaling here? The Nerve doesn't have gimbaling. Okay, that's good to know. Cool, so we see our time to apoapsis is increasing quite dramatically, and that's exactly what we want to see. I want to burn here until we're at about 15 kilometers. So we're at 12 right now for our apoapsis, and that's 16, so that's absolutely fine. We're basically at orbital velocity right now, but we can come around over here and just circularize it. 7.4 meters per second to circularize. I like it. So we're going to position on the node here. We actually have pretty decent turn speed, all things considered, thanks to our advanced reaction wheel module here. Beautiful. And let's get ourselves into orbit. 7 meters per second in total. Not bad. So we're bringing our engineering crew on home. Our fuel system is good to go. I do think that our main problem with that like tilting that I was talking about and how that refueler really wants to tip over, I think that that's mostly only an issue when the fueler is full, not when the fueler is empty. So we should be able to handle that. That should be a manageable sort of thing. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, and mark. Cool, that'll do. That puts us into a relatively circular orbit, and now we're going to want to break out of this orbit around here, because we want to go away from Duna. So we're going to push out this direction. If I can grab this. There we go. And we want to push out away from Duna. What direction is this going to take us, though, towards Kerbin? We're towards the sun right now, ish? Actually, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So if we set Kerbin as our target, inclination is a little bit wonky here. And we probably shouldn't rely too much on this projection here. It's probably going to be slightly different. Oh, wow, look at that timing. With just a smidge of radial tossed in there, we can get an encounter. This is actually magnificent. That's an encounter right there. Is it a good encounter? Well, no. We can definitely dial that in a bit. I want to grab our maneuver here. Thank you very much. So that's the Kerbin encounter there. I'm not actually seeing the Kerbin encounter at this time because we're going to be flying through multiple spheres of influence, right? But we can fine-tune this once we are out of the Ike sphere of influence and or the Duna sphere of influence. We can take a look at it then. So we're going to position for this burn. It looks like we have a reasonable encounter here. We're going to have a pretty hefty braking burn, or aero brake, one or the other. We could grab an EVA report, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Yeah, for the time being, I don't really care all that much. We're going to get into position here for this burn. Apparently we've overshot the burn. Okay, well, we're just going to burn on through here. It's going to be a long burn, no doubt about that. So we're going to position on the node, and we're going to physics warp this burn. It's about a 6-minute burn here. And the real question is, what is this encounter actually going to end up looking like? So for now, we need to go back over to Duna focus. And in fact, we need to remain, for the time being, on Ike focus. Although we can see from here that we're not going to be on an impact trajectory. So that's good. Good to know. I'm always concerned when we start burning at the planet like that. It's always slightly concerning. But for the time being, this'll do. And we'll just make our way through here. We're about halfway through this burn right now. And the real question is, what is this going to end up looking like as we approach Kerbin? And we'll see. We just don't know because our projections don't go that far ahead. We have a lot of body encounters between now and then, right? So we'll see. We'll see. 300 meters per second left to go on this burn, but we are leaving Ike behind. Duna should be, I think, behind Ike right now. Yes, that is accurate. So we should be seeing Duna peeking out fairly soon. Excellent. 150 meters per second to go in this burn, and there's Duna. Goodbye, Duna. We are headed home. 70 meters per second. 50. 30. Coming out of physics warp now. 20 meters per second to go. 5. And we're definitely off a little bit here. We'll rotate over there and get that last little bit. That's 0.0. And technically this is showing us that we don't quite have an approach here. So I want to exit the sphere of influence of Ike. We're going to warp up over here. And we're going to see what this ends up looking like. What do we got? Okay, that's technically not quite an encounter. So if we were to add in here, or even like here, if we were to add in a little bit of radial here, there we go. That gets us an encounter. What kind of encounter? So that's barely an encounter, right? And we can definitely dial that in. And bring it in something like this. Okay, we want it to be around here. And just dial this guy right on in. It's looking good thus far. So we'd bring this into around 40-ish kilometers, right? For some sort of aero brake. Maybe even like 20 kilometers, but I would like to alter the trajectory here and have it be a bit more equatorial, since we can do that. We can just flatten out the trajectory like this. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be close enough. And then we can just dial that in. Beautiful. This is a really nice encounter. Now the question is, if we were at, say, 70 kilometers here, what would it take to brake here? So, if we were to come in here and do a braking maneuver, that actually feels quite cheap. 1,300 meters per second. Okay, so it's not hugely cheap, but it's way cheaper than it could have been. No, I like this. I think this is really good. We're going to have to probably do a little bit of corrective burning on the way in. I think there's almost certainly no doubt about that. But let's warp forward and see if this changes dramatically. I don't expect it to. Nope, it stays exactly the same. So that's perfect. And let's get this a little bit of warp done here, and let's get this burn done. So 92.7 meters per second. And this is a really, really nice transfer. I like it. We actually got kind of lucky with that timing. Beautiful. So we've got 40 seconds to go here. 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And there we go. So we'll physics warp our way through this. Excellent. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and... Ooh, I want to be accurate with this. That's 0.0 meters per second. How is our actual orbit looking? Okay, so we're a little bit far out here. I think we need to go over to retrograde and dial that in a bit. We have the delta V to just enter a proper orbit and not have to deal with aerobraking, right? That's an option. Okay, actually it's prograde. It's not retrograde at all. Let's hop on over to prograde then, and we're going to bring this guy right on in. I think we're going to target 100 kilometers here, and we're just going to then do a braking burn here. So we'll do a braking burn here in 424 days. That sounds absolutely great. And we'll bring this on down, circularizing that orbit, and then we'll bring these guys down the old-fashioned way. So that all seems absolutely great. We'll just bleed off a bunch of speed here. We've got a lot of gas in this tank left, right? So that all seems fine. Goodbye, Ike. Goodbye, Duna. It's been a pleasure. That mission was interesting. It was certainly interesting. It was certainly something. I don't know what, but it was something. So we're just going to warp on through here. It's going to be a relatively long warp, so I will see you guys at the end of it. Okay, so here we are near the end of the warp, and we're going to be coming into Kerbin very soon here. We haven't loaded into the Kerbin SOI yet. Here we go. We're currently loading into it. Beautiful. So here's Kerbin. Hi, Kerbin. You kind of snuck up on me a bit there, but let's warp forward a bit here, and we're going to be entering orbit here with a relatively lengthy burn. 3, 2, 1, and mark. Cool. So we're going to warp forward here. We're physics warping this burn naturally. It's going to be a somewhat long one, at 7 minutes long, but I think that's okay. I mean, all things considered, this is a pretty low energy transfer. Not, I think, a perfectly low energy transfer. The timing could have been better, but it's still a pretty decent transfer window. Not terrible compared to most of the transfer windows I get, because I just don't bother trying to time it. We've got about 1 kilometer per second to bleed off here, but we should be... Are we in orbit of Kerbin yet? No, we're not in orbit quite yet, but we will be very shortly. Beautiful. Now we're in orbit of Kerbin. A very elliptical orbit, yes, but an orbit nonetheless. And you can see it coming on down quickly at first and then slowing and slowing and slowing. This gets exponentially slower, of course. So that's absolutely fine. 700 meters per second to go in this burn. We are almost officially halfway through the burn now. And that looks wonderful. Like, this is a phenomenal return. I'm very pleased with it. Our decoupler is, of course, here, and we're bringing back very little, right? So we're disposing of the majority of this. We're going to be using this heat shield and landing with the capsule, and that's pretty much it. This entire purpose was just to get us there and get us back. And it served its purpose well. What do we got down over here? A couple of somethings. Probably debris? Well, one of these is the Stay Putnik, actually. Cool. We're actually really, really close to the Stay Putnik right there. I don't know what this guy is, but the Stay Putnik is only 25 kilometers out. We're not going to try to intercept it, even though we could with the fuel that we had. That's certainly a possibility, but we're not going to. We are really, really close here. 15 kilometers away. Wow. We are really close to the Stay Putnik. In theory, if we wanted to do this, what exactly is our relative velocity? I mean, 143 meters per second. We definitely could. We could. But I'm not gonna. We're just gonna say hi. We're gonna wave at it on the way by. What is our closest pass? 10.9 kilometers? Yeah, we definitely could intercept it if we wanted to and just say hi to the Stay Putnik. But I'm not particularly interested in that right now. I just want to hop over to orbital retrograde, and I want to head home. A splashdown would be ideal. So we would end up burning, like, probably now-ish, bringing our periapsis down. And we would bring this down to be probably around 15 or 20 kilometers would be what we'd go for. Cool. So we would just bring this on in. I think I'm going to target 15 here. That'll do. And from here, there's no going back. We're definitely going to be impacting the ground at some point, or probably a splashdown, right? Possibly a splashdown. We'll see. For now, we're going to do that. Beautiful. So this is out of here. We're going to be landing just with our capsule. And we're going to go into surface velocity minus. There we go. And let's just warp on forward until we hit the atmosphere. Cool. We're going to be hitting the atmosphere soon. There we go. That's atmospherical. And let's physics warp our way down. We should have quite a lot of drag and no real problem bringing this down whatsoever. We can see our periapsis height is already down by almost a third, which is not surprising at all. Our apoapsis height is dropping as well, but our periapsis height is what really matters here. We are already beginning to slow down our surface velocity. That's great. And we can see our impact time over here, about 4 minutes in theory. Looks like we might have a land landing. It doesn't really matter whether it's land or water, to be honest, so it's okay. About 2 kilometers per second over the surface right now. Our antenna was broken. I suppose I should have considered that and retracted the antenna, but it's okay. We're about 1 minute away from impact at this time and continuing to slow down dramatically. We're down to about 1 kilometer per second. Very shortly, we're going to be able to send out our drogue chutes. In fact, we can now. Drogues are out. And that, of course, means Smart ASS can be turned off. And we'll be deploying our main now. It's going to pull us a little off kilter, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. And downward we go. Beautiful. That was a pretty much textbook situation there. That was really good. I liked that. Very painless for this particular encounter. As opposed to some of the other things on this mission, which were not as painless, that's for sure. So we're going to bring this on down. No problem whatsoever here. We're coming down at about 13 meters per second. That's a little faster than I had anticipated. In fact, that's quite a lot faster than I had anticipated. We're going to bring this around to up, and we're going to try to land on this heat shield first. Okay, the heat shield blows up, but it cushions our impact, and everybody's fine. They're fine. It's fine. They're fine. There was no problem here whatsoever. The heat shield correctly worked to shield us against the litho breaking. That was the point the whole time, definitely. That was definitely the point. So we performed a rendezvous maneuver around Ike, apparently. I don't recall doing that. Oh, no, we did. When we refueled. That's right. We started constructing the first station around Ike. Yep, we performed a docking maneuver. We started constructing the first outpost on Ike. We returned home from the surface and from orbit of Ike. Beautiful. And apparently we can't deploy a part. Cool. So we're going to recover this, of course. Recover vessel. Beautiful. Jeb, Bill, and I forget who the other one was. I can't remember that Kerbal's name. The scientist. They all got back completely safely. There was never any danger whatsoever. You can ignore the exploded heat shield. And the whole rest of the mission. The whole thing was kind of jank. But to be honest, it worked better than I anticipated. I'm quite pleased about that. So that is our refueling system over Ike done, and we are ready to move on at this point. Also, we're ready to put a cut in here. So that's about right. We're going to go ahead and do that, and next episode will be a return, hopefully, to viewer contracts. I say hopefully. I'm in control of that. It can be a return to viewer contracts, and it will be. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Shadow Wolf, Mlohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kintogan, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.